Hello, Manna Gatherers. We are on day 4 of this first week of Advent, the season of preparation to receive the Christ child and also the second coming of Christ. Traveling this first week with Mary and Joseph and allowing them to teach us about faith. Let's get to Mary's words in Luke 1. Here am I, a servant of the Lord. My soul magnifies the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things. I hope you're hungry today because God is going to fill us with God's good stuff today, with good things. I want to return to something I hit slightly on yesterday, but wanted to explore more with you today. And that is that Mary and Joseph teach us about faith through adversity. I started down that thought trail, but had to rein it back in to stay more on point with yesterday's manna message that faith begins with humility, and humility is about giving up control to God, saying as Mary did, "Here I am, a servant of the Lord," or responding in faith as Joseph did. Well, Joseph didn't say anything according to the Gospel of Matthew. Joseph doesn't even have an appearance of an angel to him in the Gospel of Luke. But in Matthew 1, we see that Joseph responds by simply getting up and doing what God asked him to do. He sticks by Mary's side and they travel together as an engaged couple, pregnant couple to be registered in Bethlehem. Engaged, pregnant, oh my. Today, though, we lift up and we revere this picturesque scene of young Virgin Mary with her strong and faithful husband-to-be by her side, leading her to Bethlehem on a donkey, belly full and round. Oh, so sweet, so special. But that is a domesticated, cleaned up version. It's the difference, if you will, to use a 21st century metaphor or illustration. It's the difference between choosing which pics you put on social media versus the bloopers, the outtakes, the not so picturesque ones you do not share. Mary and Joseph's story is worthy today of social media sharing, but not so much when they were actually living it. Back to engaged, pregnant, those two don't go together. As I have already said, their call would have been one that would have been extremely, I think, terrifying, but also very ostracizing, because in their world there was no greater visible sign of sinfulness than an unwed pregnant woman. You can't hide the fact that you slept with somebody when there's a baby growing in your belly. We won't make judgments today on how they did. Mary fell, though, in that category of very visible sinful. And Joseph, well, he too was a little cuckoo probably to believe this whole God is the father of this baby tall tale, as probably many would have believed. Outsiders and onlookers would have been pointing and staring and whispering and gossiping and turning their back and walking on the opposite side of the road so not as to associate with them. I wonder, however, how many of those who had such ostracizing and ugly behavior toward Mary and Joseph came to eventually know and to believe and to love Jesus, not as Mary and Joseph's son, but as who he was, who he is, God incarnate. I think Mary and Joseph's story reminds us that God's faithfulness to us doesn't come in a one-size-fits-all, picture-perfect, logical, typical way. There is no pattern to God showing up. God shows up in a vulnerable baby of an unwed poor couple from the fairly unknown and overlooked town of Nazareth. Faith gives us eyes to see and hearts to believe that God shows up in unlikely places in this world, to not discount anyone or anything for being a God bearer for this world. That is what Mary is called in the Eastern Orthodox Church, Theotokos, God bearer, Theotokos, God bearer. God surprises us all when and where God shows up to meet us. Reading story after story after story in our Bible since Genesis teaches us that. And Mary and Joseph's story is no different. I guess we can expect something of God, the unexpected. It is God showing up in a couple pushed to the margins because of their so labeled indiscretion. And God doing that should teach us to have faith that God can show up in just about anyone and anywhere. Such faith, therefore, sees all people, all situations with that expectation of God surprising us by showing up as God did for the world through Mary and Joseph. May we all have faith to see beyond anyone's exterior, beyond the surface level of any circumstance, so that we don't miss God being birthed in our presence. Do you see that? How many people who gossiped, who whispered, who pointed, who stared at Mary and Joseph, missed the opportunity of God entering our world. God surprises us. So we need to have the faith to see God showing up in surprising and unlikely circumstances and even people. I will see you tomorrow on Friday.